Hi, welcome to Boyko's Books. I am your host, Ryan Boyko, and basically what we're doing here is we're reading books. There's a very important old book that you probably know I'm reading from the title, and that is the King James Version of the Holy Bible. There's a lot of stuff happening in our world right now, and this is one of those books that's being used as a weapon. And although I know of the book, I've certainly never read the book, at least not in its entirety, perhaps a passage here or there. And I think that there's a lot of people that are in the same boat. People that might think that they know what's in here, people that say they read it or say they've read it and never have. I think that this is an opportunity for us to just come together, read the book. I'm not reading it in any way as a scholar. I'm an actor. I was planning to read this book, and I thought, well, why not read it aloud and let other people have the opportunity to read it? So I'm going to try and break it up in a way that seems natural, easily digestible, and if there's anything where I question what it's saying or something doesn't quite make sense to me, I might talk about it a little bit, but otherwise I'm just going to read it as is, and we can discuss it in the comments. So if you want to know when the next chapter or book is available for you to listen to here on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe. There's a little bell, notification bell. You can click that notification bell and it will let you know anytime I upload the videos. But we're doing this in 2025. We're in the time of Lent. It's early March. And if you're seeing this, that means the entire book has been read, recorded, and it will be uploaded. I think just by taking a quick flip through the book, the easiest way will be if I stop between books, and that way it's easily searchable as well. Another thing that I've decided is that I'm going to wear the same clothes for each book that I read. YouTube has public domain copyrights, so anything that I read will be something that exists within the public domain. And so if you have any requests of books that you'd like me to read, please make sure that they exist in the public domain. Write it down in the comments. And if there's anything that I may ask or question about, whether it's a pronunciation or anything like that, please write in the comment how to either pronounce it right, send a link to a place where I can go and get the proper pronunciation, and then I'll make sure going forward that it's pronounced properly. But again, I'm not a scholar certainly of this book. I am reading it really for the first time, certainly for the first time aloud. This is what we as actors and artists call a cold read. I hope to do this book justice. If you like the way I read, again, please like, share, and subscribe. Write down in the comments, let me know, and yeah. I think we're just going to go for it. I got a new thing in my life. It's called reading glasses. I'm getting used to them. I'm probably going to comment about them on every single video because I've never ever had to use glasses before in my life. A little bit about the setting where I am. I am in my home and I'm in front of my guest room. And the reason that I chose to sit here for this specific book rather than be in my studio is this is a old church window from a Lutheran church in southern Ontario. So they've been repurposed as sliding glass doors. I'm also sitting in a throne that happens to have the Lord's Prayer on a book. So I think this chair is going to be my book reading chair, but I thought it was specifically fitting for this book. I don't even know if the Lord's Prayer is in this book, but I guess we'll find out. Without further ado. Also, if you want to know about the preface, that's in another video. It's my first video on this channel, and I am not wearing this coat and shirt in that one, but I will wear this coat and shirt for the rest of this book. And when you see me wearing a different coat and shirt, I'll be on to a different book. So let's take it away. The Old Testament. The Pentateuch. I know that's the right word because I looked it up. The Bible is a book of many books, 66 in fact, from Genesis through Revelation. These books are grouped by type or subject. The first group is called the Pentateuch, which comes from the word penta, meaning 5. So then the Pentateuch is the first 5 books of the Old Testament. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. You can tell me if I've pronounced that wrong. So I will either read through one at a time, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, or depending on how the flow is going, I'll just read straight through. I mean, I've got a timer on my phone here so I can see how long it'll be. But these 5 books are sometimes called the books of Moses, after their author. Moses is also the most famous person in the Pentateuch. You've probably heard the story about him when he was an infant, also played by Charlton Heston. His mother hid him in a basket on the river because the king of Egypt had ordered that all Hebrew babies should be killed. And that exists in Exodus 1:22 to 2:4. Moses' parents and all the Hebrews were slaves of the Egyptians, and the king was concerned that the Hebrew slaves were becoming greater in number than his own people. That's 1:9 to 11. Moses was discovered by an Egyptian princess who took him home to live with her. Moses grew up among the rulers of Egypt and learned their way of life. One day, God appeared to Moses in a burning bush and gave him a special assignment. Moses must convince the king of Egypt to set the Hebrew slaves free. Then, Moses would lead the people to their new home known as the Promised Land. The book of Exodus tells how Moses finally got the Hebrew people released from slavery. The people traveled under Moses' leadership into the desert, where God revealed to Moses the 10 Commandments and other laws. You can read about many of God's laws in the book of Leviticus. When the people approached the Promised Land, God wanted them to go immediately and claim the land, but they refused. They were afraid of a nation of people known as the Canaanites, who were already settled in the land. God was displeased with this disobedience of his people, so he ordered them to travel in the desert for 40 more years. These events are described in the book of Numbers. Finally, the Hebrew people were ready to settle the land. Since Moses could not enter the Promised Land himself, he delivered a series of farewell speeches to the people. These talks revealed what God expected of his people in their new home. These speeches appear in the book of Deuteronomy. Moses himself does not appear in Genesis, of course, since it tells of events before his time, but he is regarded as the author of that book as well. It describes the creation of the world, the sin of Adam and Eve, in the Garden of Eden, the story of Noah and the flood, and the lives of several other famous people in the Old Testament: Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. They all lived long before the time of Moses, but their lives were well known to the Hebrew people. The Pentateuch serves as a good introduction to the Bible. In Genesis, God made a covenant or agreement with Abraham. See Genesis 12:1-3. He promised to bless Abraham and his descendants if they would serve God and tell other people about him. The rest of the Bible shows how God's people struggled to keep this agreement and how God dealt with them throughout their history. So the first book of Moses is called Genesis. I'll also mention I have 2 cats who are running around because they believe whenever I speak aloud, of course I'm speaking to them, and because this door is almost always open, they're walking in between that bedroom and the space where I am, just to keep it colorful. The book of Genesis, the history of creation. 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. 2. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. 3. Then God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, and that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. 5. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So the evening and the morning were the first day. 6. Then God said, "Let there be firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." 7. Thus God made the firmament and divided the waters, which were under the firmament, from the waters, which were above the firmament. And it was so. 8. And God called the evening and the morning were the second day. I don't know that I need to write to say the line numbers. If you'd like me to say the line numbers, please write that in the comments. But as a reader, it's breaking it up for me in a way that's a little uncomfortable. So I'd like to just carry on. I recognize that the line numbers might be important if you are attempting to memorize. But that's not what I'm doing here. So let's move along from number 9, and from here on, I'm not going to say the numbers. If you'd like me to say the numbers, please write that in the comments. But otherwise, from 9 on, I'm not going to do that, because it's breaking it up for me in a way that's uncomfortable as a reader. Then God said, this is number 9. Then God said, "Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb that yields seed, and the fruit that yields fruit, according to its kind, whose seed is in itself on the earth." And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, the herb that yields seeds according to its kind, and the tree that yields fruit, whose seed is in itself according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. So the evening and the morning were the third day. Then God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and seasons, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth." And it was so. Then God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. God set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. So the evening and the morning were the 4th day. Then God said, "Let the waters abound with abundance of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the face of the firmament of the heavens." So God created great sea creatures in every living thing that moves, with which the waters abounded, according to their kind, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth." So the evening and the morning were the fifth day. Then God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creature according to its kind, cattle and creeping thing and beast of the earth, each according to its kind." And it was so. And God made the beast of the earth according to its kind, cattle according to its kind, and everything that creeps on the earth according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on this earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them. Then God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and every other living thing that moves on the earth." And God said, "See, I have given you every herb that yields seeds, which is on the face of the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it shall be the food. Also, at every breath of the earth, to every bird of the air, and everything that creeps in the earth, in which there is life, I have given every green herb for food." And it was so. Then God saw everything that he had made, and indeed it was very good. So the evening and the morning were the sixth day. Now there are other numbers here, because we're going into number 2. So it was the right choice to not mention the line numbers. However, the line numbers do have footnotes, so I guess we'll be skipping the footnotes. So I guess this is Book of Genesis, Part 2. "Thus the heavens and the earth and the host of them were finished. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all of his work which he had done. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which God had created and made." This is the history of the heavens and the earth, and when they were created, in the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens. Before any plant of the field was in the earth, and before any herb of the field had grown, for the Lord God had not caused it to rain on the earth, and there was no man to till the ground. But a mist went up from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. That's interesting. I'm not a theologian, but basically he's saying man was formed from nothing. There was nothing there, dust on the ground. So then all of a sudden he breathed into the nostrils and there was breath of life and man became a living being. To me, it's an early understanding of childbirth, essentially, that there was nothing. They didn't understand. Then from just a regular belly, then all of a sudden she's giving birth, and then they blow into the nostril, and suddenly there's life. I think that's trying to describe that in a historical way. They're trying to help people understand. I think that's what's going on. If you have a different opinion, just let me know. My opinion it's just an opinion as I'm reading this for the first time. Life in God's garden. The Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground the Lord God made every tree grow that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life was also in the midst of that garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Now a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it parted and became 4 riverheads. The name of the first is Pishon. I don't know, Pishon. It is the one which skirts the whole land of Havilah, and there is gold. And the gold of that land is good. Bdellium and the onyx stone are there. The name of the second river is Gihon, and it is the one which goes around the whole land of Cush. The name of the third river is Hiddekel. It is the one which goes towards the east of Assyria. The fourth river is Euphrates. Then the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to tend and keep it. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. For in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. And the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper comparable to him. So this is almost saying, like, it is not, this is sort of where the control of this book to me lives. It is not okay for you to have knowledge, is what I just read. Let's park that, because I know that that's going to ruffle some feathers, but that's what it says. You can eat anything. You can eat off of every tree in the garden, you may freely eat, but the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. And this book was traditionally used by people who had power. So it's just an observation. Again, somebody who has never read this before. I'm reading it from today's context and understanding. And the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone. I'll make God a helper comparable to him. Out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every bird of the air, and brought them to Adam to see what he would call them. And whatever Adam called each living creature, that was its name. So Adam gave names to all the cattle, to the birds of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found a helper comparable to him. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall on Adam, and as he slept, and he took one of his ribs, and closed up the flesh in its place. Then the rib which the Lord God had taken from the man, he made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother, and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. Accentuated with the door being closed. It's just interesting to me because we've made woman out of rib, out of dust, but somehow he has parents. So what's the metaphor? What's the metaphor? Perhaps once you take a wife, I think that's where what makes the most sense is once you take a wife, this is now bone of my bones. Her bones are equivalent to your bones. Her flesh is the equivalent of your flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man. But I think that's the idea is, I think it's a respect thing. That if you take a wife and her a husband, I mean at this time it wasn't necessarily back and forth, but this idea of bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh, you are mine and I am yours, and we are the same, we are one. I think that's, that idea of to become one, which I've heard that comes around later, but I think that's what they're saying here. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. There it is. Man leaves his mother and father, but Adam didn't have mother and father, so it's weird. So I just have to take it there. And they shall become one flesh. And I believe that's a child, the one flesh, right? They shall become one flesh, two becoming one flesh. That's the indication that when two become one, that means from her and him makes one, that's a child. And they were both naked, and the man and his wife were not ashamed. Okay. I don't know how good it is for me to be talking here because I don't know these answers. They're just my thoughts as I'm reading it. So please take it with a grain of salt. Don't get mad at me. But if you have opinions about what I'm saying or about my interpretation, I'd love to hear about it. If you have more of a standard interpretation, or you know something, or you've studied this book, please let me know. And please be kind, because I've never read this before, and I'm just trying to learn. The temptation and fall of man. Yes, book of Genesis, chapter 3. Now the serpent was more cunning than any beast in the field, which the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, God has indeed said, you shall not eat of every tree in the garden. And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, you shall not eat it, nor shall you touch it, lest you die. Then the serpent said to the woman, you will not surely die. For God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. Interesting. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eye, and the tree desirable to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. She also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves coverings. And they heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God among the trees of the garden. Then the Lord God called to Adam and said to him, where are you? So he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree of which I commanded you that you should not eat? Then the man said, The woman who you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate. And the Lord God said to the woman, What is this that you have done? The woman said, The serpent deceived me, and I ate. So the Lord God said to the serpent, Because you have done this, you are cursed more than all cattle, and more than every beast of the field. On your belly you shall go, and you shall eat dust all the days of your life. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. To the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. Then to Adam he said, Because you have heeded the voice of your wife, and have eaten from the tree of which I commanded you, saying, You shall not eat of it, cursed is the ground for your sake. In toil you shall eat of it all the days of our life. Both thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of your face you shall eat bread, till you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you shall return. And Adam called his wife's name Eve, because she was a mother of all living. Also for Adam and his wife, the Lord God made tunics of skin and clothed them. The Lord God said, Behold, the man has become like one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put out his hand and take over the tree of life and eat and live forever. Therefore the Lord God sent him out of the Garden of Eden to the ground from which he was taken. So he drove out man, and he placed cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden, and a flaming sword with every way, which turned every way to guard the way of the tree of life. Chapter 4. Cain murders Abel. Now Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, and said, I have acquired a man from the Lord. Then she bore again, this time his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in the process of time it came to pass that Cain brought an offering of the fruit of the ground to the Lord. Abel also brought of the firstborn of his flock and of their fat. And the Lord respected Abel and his offering. But he did not respect Cain and his offering. And Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell. So the Lord said to Cain, Why are you angry? And why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin lies at the door, and its desire is for you, but you should rule over it. Now Cain talked with Abel, his brother. And it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, Where is Abel, your brother? He said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. So, now you are cursed from the earth, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you till the ground, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. A fugitive and a vagabond you shall be on the earth. And Cain said to the Lord, My punishment is greater than I can bear. Surely you have driven me out this day from the face of the ground. I shall be hidden from your face. I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond on the earth, and it will happen that anyone who finds me will kill me. And the Lord said to him, Therefore, whoever kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken upon him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark on Cain, lest anyone find him should kill him. The family of Cain. Then Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Enoch. And he built a city, and called the city after his son, Enoch. To Enoch was born of Irad, and Irad begot Mahujel, and Mahujel begot Methushael, and Methushael begot Lamech. Then Lamech took for himself 2 wives. The name of one was Ada, and the name of the other was Zillah. And Ada bore Jabal. He was the father of those who dwell in tents and have livestock. His brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all those who play the harp and flute. And as for Zillah, she also bore Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every craftsman in bronze and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. Then Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice. Wives of Lamech, listen to my speech. For I have killed a man for wounding me, even a young man for hurting me. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, then Lamech 77-fold. If Adam and Eve were the first, where do all these other people come from? Just a question. I'll just try and keep it simple, just immediate observation. So this is, I don't believe this was ever meant to be taken literally. That's all. A new son. And Adam knew his wife again, for she bore a son named Seth. For God had appointed another seed for me instead of Abel, whom Cain killed. And as for Seth, to him also a son was born, and he named him Enosh. Then men began to call on the name of the Lord. Chapter 5. The family of Adam. This is the book of the genealogy of Adam. In the day that God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. He created them male and female, and blessed them, and called them mankind in the days they were created. And Adam lived 130 years, and begot a son in his own likeness, after his image, and named him Seth. After he begot Seth, the days of Adam were 800 years, and he had sons and daughters. So all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. Okay, I've heard people say before that Adam lived for 900 years. What they're saying is Adam's lineage lasted for 900 years. It's very clear. The man himself did not live 900 years. He lived for 130, is what it says. And from there, his lineage was passed down and could be traced for those 900 years. So after he begot Seth, the days of Adam were 800 years, and he had sons, or 800 years, sorry. He had sons and daughters. So all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. Seth lived 105 years and begot Enosh. After he begot Enosh, Seth lived 800 years and 7 years, and had sons and daughters. So all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. In other words, there was no offspring after 900 years. Okay. Canaan lived 70 years and begot Mahalalel. After he begot Mahalalel, Canaan lived 840 years, and his sons and daughters. and had sons and daughters. So all the days of Canaan were 910 years, and he died. Mahalalel lived 65 years and begot Jared. After he begot Jared, Mahalalel lived 800 years and 30 years, and had sons and daughters. So all the days of Mahalalel were 895 years, and he died. Jared lived 162 years and begot Enoch. After he begot Enoch, Jared lived 800 years and had sons and daughters. So basically they could trace the family tree for 800 years, etc., had sons and daughters. So all the days of Jared were 962 years, and he died. Enoch lived 65 years and begot Methuselah. After he begot Methuselah, Enoch walked with God 300 years and had sons and daughters. So all the days of Enoch were 365 years. And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Methuselah lived 187 years and begot Lamech. After he begot Lamech, Methuselah lived 782 years and had sons and daughters. So all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. Lamech lived 182 years and had a son, and he called the name Noah, saying, "This one will comfort us concerning our work and our toil and our hands, because of the ground and which the Lord has cursed." After he begot Noah, Lamech lived 595 years and had sons and daughters. So all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. And Noah was 500 years old, and Noah begat Shem, Ham, and Japheth. That's interesting. Well, because now at line 32 of, I'm guessing this is book 5 of Genesis, Noah was 500 years old, and Noah begat Shem, Ham. This whole thing, I'm sure that there's theologians who spend their entire life's work trying to unpack everything that's here and unpack the years. So if you understand that better than I do, just let me know what exactly they're saying. Specifically book of Genesis, the family of Adam, book 5. It makes sense to me that they're talking about lineage, family lineage lasting 900 years, line 930. But then it gets confusing in the last couple of lines where it says, "And Noah was 500 years old." So I don't know if that's the translation is incorrect here, or if that's like a way of saying that Noah lived. Noah's life force existed for 500 years, and within his life force, he begot Shem, Ham, and Japheth. I think that's what it's saying, but they've changed the way in which the sentence structure is structured. So that could be where the confusion comes from, is that final sentence that then takes it more from a lineage translation into a literal translation. I don't know that for sure, but that's the way it seems to me. Let me know in the comments. The wicked, Genesis chapter 6, or book 6. However, let me know, is it Genesis chapter 6 or Genesis book 6? I think if they're talking that there was 600 and... How many books were there? There are 66 books. So I think that's Genesis is book 1, but these are either chapters or books within Genesis. So please let me know, because I don't know, and it's really not clear how to phrase that. So anyway, I'm going to call them chapters for now until I know different. So Genesis chapter 6, the wicked and judgment of man. Now it came to pass, When men began to multiply on the face of the earth, the daughters were born to them. And the sons of God saw the daughters of men, and they were beautiful. And they took wives for themselves, all of whom they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not strive with man forever, for he is indeed flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the Son of God came to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. Then the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intent on those thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and that he was grieved in his heart. So the Lord said, I will destroy man, whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, creeping things, and birds of the air, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Question. Does anyone have any ideas about the giants? Like, who are these giants? Are these the, like I've seen stuff, ancient aliens hidden in the Bible and stuff like that. Is this what they're referring to when they say that? Are we talking about like Neanderthal, a different type of human species or humanoid type species that existed at this time? Again, it's not clear. Maybe it will become clear after the flood, like the giants or the other human-like creatures that existed. I think they get flooded out, right? Noah pleases God. This is the genealogy of Noah. Noah, just a man, perfect in his generations. Noah walked with God. And Noah begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. So God looked upon the earth, and indeed it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. The ark prepared. And God said to Noah, The end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make room in the ark, and cover it inside and outside with pitch. And this is how you shall make it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, its width 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. You shall make a window for the ark, and you shall finish it to a cubit from above, and set the door of the ark and its side. You shall make it with lower, second, and third decks. And behold, I myself am bringing flood waters on the earth, to destroy from under heaven all flesh in which is the breath of life. Everything that is on the earth shall die. But I will establish my covenant with you. And you shall go into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, your sons' wives, and you. And of every living thing of all flesh you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark, and keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female. Of the birds after their kind, the animals after their kind, and every creeping thing of the earth after its kind. 2 of every kind will come to you to keep them alive, and you shall take for yourself of all food that is eaten, and you shall gather it to yourself, and it shall be food for you and for them. Thus Noah did, according to all that God commanded him to do so. The great flood. I'm aware of the dramatics of the sun going down behind me. I am aware. The great flood. Then the Lord said to Noah, Come into the ark, you and all your household, because I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. You shall take with you 7 each of every clean animal, a male and his female, 2 each of animals that are unclean, a male and his female. Also 7 each of birds of the air, male and female, to keep the species alive on the face of the earth. For after 7 more days I will cause it to rain on the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and I will destroy from the face of the earth all living things that I have made. And Noah did, according to all that the Lord commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the floods were on the earth. So was he 600 years old, or was that the generations of his family? I'm just curious, because I could live to 600, that'd be all right. As long as I'm in healthy enough shape that I can build a boat. So Noah with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives went into the ark because of the waters of the flood. Of clean animals, of animals that are unclean, of birds, and of everything that creeps on this earth. 2 by 2 they went into the ark, to Noah, male and female, as God had commanded Noah. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were on the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, on that day all the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened, and the rain was on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On the very same day Noah and Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Noah's wife, and the other 3 wives of his sons with them entered the ark. They and every beast after its kind, all cattle after their kind, every creeping thing that creeps on the earth after its kind, and every bird after its kind, every bird of every sort. And they went into the ark to Noah, 2 by 2, of all flesh, in which is the breath of life. So those that entered, male and female, of all flesh, went in as God had commanded him. And the Lord shut him in. Now the flood was on the earth 40 days. The water increased and lifted up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. The waters prevailed and greatly increased on the earth, and the ark moved about on the surface of the waters, and the waters prevailed exceedingly on the earth, and the high hills under the whole heaven were covered. The waters prevailed 15 cubits upwards, and the mountains were covered, and all flesh died that moved on the earth, birds and cattle and beasts and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, and every man, all in whose nostrils was the breath of the Spirit of life. All that was on the dry land died. So he destroyed all living things, which were on the face of the ground, both man and cattle, creeping things and bird in the air. They were destroyed from the earth. Only Noah and those who were with him in the ark remained alive. And the waters prevailed on the earth 150 days. Noah's deliverance. Genesis chapter 8. Then God remembered Noah and every living thing, and all the animals that were with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters subsided. The fountains of the deep and the windows of the heaven were also stopped, and the rain from the heaven was restrained. And the waters receded continually from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the waters decreased. Then the ark rested in the 7th month, the 17th day of the month, on the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, the tops of the mountains were seen. So it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. Then he sent out a raven, which kept going to and fro until the waters had dried up from the earth. He also sent out from himself a dove, to see if the waters had receded from the face of the ground. But the dove found no resting place for the sole of her foot, and she returned into the ark to him, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. So he put out his hand and took her, and drew her into the ark to himself. And he waited yet another 7 days. And again he sent the dove out from the ark. Then the dove came to him in the evening, and behold, a freshly plucked olive leaf was in her mouth. And Noah knew that the waters had receded from the earth. So he waited yet another 7 days, and sent out the dove, which did not return again to him any more. And came to pass in the 601st year, in the first month, the first day of the month, that the waters were dried up from the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and indeed the surface of the ground was dry. And in the second month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dried. Then God spoke to Noah, saying, "Get out of the ark, you and your wife, and your sons wives with you. Bring out every living thing of all flesh that is with you, birds and cattle, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, so that they may abound on the earth, and be fruitful, and multiply on the earth." So Noah went out, and his sons and his wife, and his sons' wives with him. Every animal, every creeping thing, every bird, and whatever creeps on the earth according to their families, went out of the ark. God's covenant with creation. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and took every clean animal of every clean bird, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And the Lord smelled a soothing aroma. Then the Lord said in his heart, "I will never again curse the ground for man's sake, although the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Nor will I again destroy every living thing as I have done. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, and day and night shall not cease." Chapter 9. God's promise to Noah. So God blessed Noah and his sons, and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be on every beast of the earth, on every bird of the air, on all that move on the earth, on all that fish in the sea. They are given into your hand. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. I have given you all things, even as the green herbs. But you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood. Surely your lifeblood I will demand a reckoning. From the hand of every beast I will require it, and from the hand of every man. From the hand of every man's brother I will require the life of man. Whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed. For in the image of God he made man. And as for you, be fruitful and multiply. Bring forth abundantly in the earth, and multiply in it." Then God spoke to Noah and to his sons with him, saying, "As for me, behold, I establish my covenant, and with you, and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the cattle, and every beast of the earth with you. Of all that go out to the ark, every beast of the earth. Thus I establish my covenant with you. Never again shall all flesh be cut off by waters and by flood. Never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth." And God said, "This is the sign of the covenant, which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. I set my rainbow in the cloud, and it shall be for the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. It shall be when I bring a cloud over the earth that the rainbow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. The waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. The rainbow shall be in the cloud, and I will look on it to remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. And God said to Noah, "This is the sign of the covenant, which I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth." Noah and his sons. Now the sons of Noah who went out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the whole earth was populated. And Noah began to be a farmer, and he planted a vineyard. Then he drank of the wine, and was drunk, and became uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told his two brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth, they took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and went backward, and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. So Noah awoke from his wine, and knew what his younger son had done to him. Then he said, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants. He shall be to his brethren." And he said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and may he dwell in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant." And Noah lived after the flood 350 years. So all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. Nations descended from Noah. Genesis chapter 10. Now this is the genealogy of the sons of Noah: Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And sons were born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. The son of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. The son of Javan were Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. From these, the coastland peoples of the Gentiles were separated into their lands, everyone according to his language, according to their families, into their nations. The sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Cush were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, and Sebetchah. And the sons of Ramah were Sheba and Dedan. Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one of the earth. He was a mighty hunter, like the Lord. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of the kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. From that land he went to Assyria, and built Nineveh, Rehoboth, Calah, and Rezin between Nineveh and Calah, that is the principal city. Mizraim begot Ludim, Anamim, Lahabim, Naphtahim, Pathruism, and Casluhim, from whom came the Philistines and Caphtorim. Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and Heath. The Jebusite and the Amorite and the Girgashite. The Hivitite and the Architite and the Sinite. The Arvadite and the Zemarite and the Hamathite. Afterwards, the families of the Canaanites were dispersed. And the border of the Canaanites was from Sidon, as you go towards Gerar, and far as Gaza. Then, as you head towards Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, as far as Lasha. These were the sons of Ham, according to their families, according to their languages, in their lands and in their nations. All children were born also Shem, the father, and all the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth, the elder. The sons of Shem were Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram were Uz, Hul, Gether, and Mash. Arphaxad begot Salah, and Salah begot Eber. To Eber were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days the earth was divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. Joktan begot Almodad, Sheleph, Hazarmareth, Jerah, Hadoram, Uzal, Dikla, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these were sons of Joktan, and their dwelling place was from the Misha, as you go towards Sephar, the mountain of the east. These were the sons of Shem, according to their families, according to their language and their lands, according to their nations. These were the families of the sons of Noah, according to their generations, in their nations, and from these the nations were divided on the earth after the flood. That's really interesting. So once again, Genesis chapter 10, we're dealing with essentially somebody's family tree that has been transcribed. I don't know if that's comes into play later. I'm sure elements of that do, so I apologize for any place where I have incorrectly pronounced all of those many names. Now we're at an hour and 7 minutes. I think we're going to end up breaking up the book of Genesis just for time-wise, because there's quite a few pages. I mean, we've got another 50 books or so. So I think that's an interesting place to stop, because we're going to be going into the Tower of Babel next. And perhaps that would be a good time to stop. We've just finished the first 10 chapters. We're at an hour and 8 minutes. I don't know how many people are going to want to stick with me through this. So we'll pick it up at the Tower of Babel. And that's Genesis chapter 11. Again, if you're liking the content and you want me to keep doing this, please like, share, subscribe. If you have any answers to the questions I posed, again, I'm just reading this for the first time, and occasionally an observation slips out because I don't know the answers, or I don't understand something, or I'm trying to make sense of something. Anything I say is just an opinion or a thought in the moment, because I've never read this before and I don't have any real history on this besides, like what's common and what the average person knows about this history. So thanks for being here. If you like what I'm doing, please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.